This chocolate babka, this is my great-grandmother's recipe. I'm gonna make this one exactly the way she did. All right, so here's how we make it. I put an envelope of active dry yeast in ½ cup of milk, and the milk's room temperature. While the yeast gets going, I'm gonna start making the babka dough. Now, a babka is a traditional Eastern European Jewish bread. This is one of my great-grandmother's recipes, and it's really soft and really tender. So I got 4½ cups of flour, and a pinch of salt. I got 1/3 cup of sugar. I'm gonna mix this guy up. 4 eggs. Teaspoon of vanilla. This recipe will make enough dough for 2 babkas. Trust me, when you make a babka, make 2. Check the yeast out. It's starting to bubble, it's coming to life. So now I'm gonna add my yeast into here. And now, I'm gonna do a pinch of nutmeg. I'm putting in about ½ a teaspoon. So now I'm gonna do the zest of about ½ a lemon. I'm gonna slowly start stirring this, and this is gonna become our dough. Okay, so the dough kind of came together, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna finish it on the table. I'm just gonna knead it here. So I'm gonna roll the dough into the dry flour. Right now the dough's really shaggy, right? Really dry. But as we knead it, the dough's gonna hydrate. And I like kneading this stuff by hand. You can do this in a stand mixer. But one of the things I find about cooking is that to make really good food, you kind of need to touch it. Okay, now I can start adding in the butter. But if you add it right at the beginning, it doesn't develop right, and you get a much more dense dough. So I got 10 tablespoons of butter. Don't dump it all in here. It's gonna be a humongous mess. Now you'll feel the dough is gonna really start to loosen up a little bit. I'm gonna add some more butter to this. You wanna do it in stages. It's like when you're dating. You know, you gotta get used to each other. You know, the dough's gotta get a little bit softer. The butter has to get a little bit warmer. And then eventually you kind of come together and then make little babkas. When you're done kneading the bread, the table should be clean. Now, we get a bowl. Take a tiny bit of oil and put his head down. Now we're gonna cover this and let it sit for about 1.5 hours. And this thing's gonna double in size. It's gonna get much bigger. Let's check our babka dough. Oh, I can already see it, much bigger. And then I'm gonna turn this out gently. And look how beautiful this is. Look at all the little pockets. This is gonna be a nice babka. Okay, this is enough for 2. So I am gonna cut this guy right in half. We'll use that later. I'm gonna make the babka filling, right? Now this is basically just a ganache. So I have 6 tablespoons of cream and then 1/4 cup of sugar. A little pinch of salt. Man, my great-grandmother was a stickler about salt. Salt in everything. Everything's sweet. All right, so we're gonna let that heat up. And then in here, I'm gonna put ½ a cup of bittersweet chocolate chips. If I use milk chocolate, it's gonna be way too soft. And 1/4 cup of butter. I'm gonna put a little bit of vanilla. Okay, so they got a full rolling boil. And I'm just gonna dump it right on top. Let's just cover this with a towel. Let it sit for just a second. All that chocolate's gonna melt. All right, so while that's melting, let's make the topping. This is gonna be that sweet chocolate streusel is gonna go on top of the chocolate babka. I'm gonna get 1/4 cup of flour, 1½ tablespoons of sugar, and do ½ a tablespoon of cocoa powder. Okay, now I got 2 tablespoons of butter, pinch of salt. Toss this around, and I'm just gonna work that butter. This is called cutting. I'm gonna cut the butter into the flour. All right, so I'm gonna get 3 tablespoons of chocolate chips. If you don't have the mini ones, you can use regular chocolate chips, it's totally fine. I like using the mini chocolate chips because they tend to melt, and instead of being sort of a chocolate chip in there, it's just a really silky part of this crunchy chocolate streusel. All right, let's have a look at that ganache. See how we're doing here. It's like everything's getting nice and melted, so I'm just gonna gently stir this together. And look how beautiful. And then you slowly whisk, and it just gets shiny and rich. All right, let's make a chocolate babka. Roll it out to a 12 by 16 rectangle. Spread out a nice layer of ganache. Roll it up gently. Stick it in the fridge to set up for about 15 minutes. Once firm, slice all the way through. Cross one side over the other. Braid and twist. And push this guy right in there. I'm gonna brush them with butter. That's gonna help it get nice and golden brown and help all that streusel stick. Now here's my chocolate streusel. Don't skimp. Get it on there. All right, so I'm gonna let this guy proof for about 45 minutes and then we're gonna get him in the oven. Okay, let's bake this chocolate babka at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes. Let's have a look at our chocolate babka. Oh man, this smells great. Okay, babka comes out of the oven. The first thing you want to do, take a little bit of simple syrup. So simple syrup is a 1-to-1 mixture of sugar and water. So you just kind of stick it in a couple spots. And that's gonna help make sure that the babka is really moist. There we go. Okay, let's get this out of the pan. Oh man, I wanna cut into this so bad, but I'm gonna wait. This is Jonna's favorite things. Duff's favorite things are watching Jonna eat her favorite things.